So I'm off to the Pilliga. I'm taking my tent and my supplies. I've got my massage table. I'm going to do some Bowen therapy on some of the elderly farmers and so on who I know are down there. And I've seen in some of the videos that people are incredibly stressed. You know, these are people who've been out west of here working their land, and suddenly companies come onto their land, drill down and dig these wells. This is impacting their water, and it's basically a disaster for a lot of these farmers. So these are our parents and grandparents who are out there at the moment. They're putting chains around their necks in some cases, locking themselves to gates and doing things that they would normally never consider. And that's where I've felt the impact in my being, in my heart, to go down and support those people. New South Wales, I think, has about 900 coal seam gas wells total in the whole state. I think Queensland has about 9,000, but in the Pilliga they're talking about another 850 wells, gas wells going in. It's going to cause huge devastation to the park, the land and the underground water. Just before I go, I did want to speak about is the power that our Australian Constitution actually gives us. There are two things that the people of Australia have a duty and an obligation to do, and the first thing is to vote, and the second thing is to keep your members of Parliament fully informed of your will. To do this, it needs to be the written expression of your will. In other words, what you actually want for this country. Now, the duty and obligation of the parliamentarians is also two things, and two things only. And the first thing is to legislate in accord with their own conscience. And the second thing is to legislate in accord with the will of the people, in particular their electorate. If the people are informing the politicians of their will, and the politicians are acting on that will, then the system works. It requires will from people to actually write and express, because petitions and opinion polls don't actually count. The magic of our Constitution and the wisdom inherent in the Constitution that was written so many years ago, that it actually asks for something from our politicians, which is to be very reflective and contemplative, to marry their own conscience with the will of their electorate, with the will of the people. Nothing else counts. It doesn't matter what the party instructs them to do. It doesn't matter what the Prime Minister instructs them to do. It's only their own conscience and the will of their people, of the people in their electorate. And if they're not doing their job, if they're ignoring those written expressions of your will, then they need to be called to account, and we need to go above their heads. And we can do that under the Constitution by going to the Governor-General. The Governor-General is the Queen's representative. I haven't always liked this idea of a country like Australia bowing to the Queen of England. It seems a bit archaic to me and quite bizarre. But it can actually work. Our Constitution gives us incredible power to sack politicians, and the Queen can actually undo legislation that Parliament has enacted. To conclude, our modern culture is really working against us here. Because so many of us have families and mortgages and things, we can't all go down to the Pilliga and protest. But also we struggle with our will to actually put something in writing and get it to our parliamentarians. Anything that you write to a parliamentarian, whether local member or federal, needs to have these words: "It is my will." It is my will that National Park be protected, or it is my will that the Great Barrier Reef stay pure and clean and not be mined. If you want to get some more information on how to do this, the Kookaburras are having a great time at the moment. go to our website, nextgenerationaustralia.org. There'll be some information there on how to take action. It's for no particular reason that this website except to educate people and to support our democratic process.